Hi, my name is Joon Park. I'm a musician based out of Kansas City. I'm here with Johnny and Nathan, and we're about to drink a decent amount of beer, but listen to a lot of great music here on BYO Beats.
Beautiful, beautiful. I don't know what month it is. What are we? March now, I think. Yeah,
Are we not
Doss, you're
allowed to
muted.
reveal like
You're muted,
when
I
Doss.
don't know what
we
I don't know when
record
I got
this?
muted. Uh,
We're recording in mid-December. To answer your
Okay, we're
question,
allowed
June.
to. Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
We're pretty
yeah,
far ahead. We're doing good things in the BYO
yeah.
Beats universe over here. We're being prepared. Um,
we are
Being prepared is
prepared.
good.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
oh yeah. Yeah, I'm ready to have a beer. So we all ready? We all got our
Yes,
Got
anthem
our beers.
selections. Remember, this
yes.
Yeah,
is
yeah.
for all of you
Boom,
new here.
boom.
This is a 6 segment podcast, so that'll be split out over 3 episodes, 2 segments per episode, released in the next 3 weeks. So you are listening here in week one. We're going to do the first 2 segments, which are the anthem and the childhood memory. We're starting with the anthem. The beer selection for this segment is a lager. So we're all going to share what beer we're drinking, ceremonial crack, pour, and taste, and then we'll get moving. So for the lagers, I have the lager from Jessup Farm Barrel House, brewed in North Glen, Colorado.
Nice.
Nice.
Yeah. Never had this one.
Yeah, I'm going with. I forgot to check that this was a lager. I guess maybe it's not. It just says light beer. So it's called garage beer.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
That's a lager. I'm sure it
Is it?
is.
I mean, I think the reason they didn't label it as any specific type of beer is because it's only 4% alcohol, 95 calories, and 3 carbs. So that's kind of their goal, is to drink as many garage beers as possible. So
That is that the Kelsey beer, like the Kelsey's? I thought I saw them
why
in an
does
advert on it. I can't
why does
remember.
this not have?
It is considered a light lager beer.
Oh,
Oh, nice. Okay, cool. Why doesn't it have the brewery on here? That's wild.
I think Garage Beer is the brewer, is it not?
Oh, really? Okay, that would make
yeah. I
sense.
think they only make one beer, and it's called Garage Beer.
Oh,
And
nice.
I believe you are correct, June. I'm on their website right
Yeah.
now, and that appears to be a Jason Kelsey.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Being in Kansas City, you can't escape
Yeah, I'm
any of
sure.
them. It's oh god.
Oh,
Anyway.
and I'm rocking with my Boulevard glass today. So shout out
Oh
Kansas
heck yeah.
City.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. I think all 4 out of 6 of my beers today will be Kansas City breweries. I tried to stick to Kansas City things. The sour was really tough to find a Kansas City brewery,
Oh,
which is
interesting.
weird because there's a brewery like close to us that is sours only, but I
Hmm.
guess they don't
Oh, wow.
care. They don't sell them. So I'm going with a brown Munich style lager from KC Beer Co. It's a Dunkel. It's very good,
Ooh,
very
cool.
tasty.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, do we do the ASMR thing? Should
Oh
I?
yeah. Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Oh, that's a good sound.
yeah.
All right, here we go.
Cheers,
Cheers,
boys.
fellas. Yeah. Oh, cheers. Clink.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right. Oh, wow. That's just water. Like,
yeah. They did say it's a light beer.
Yeah, I've actually never even I had never heard of this brewery before, Jessup Farm Barrel House. I also don't know where North Glen, Colorado is, so
North
interesting.
of Glen.
Could be.
Hmm. Do we do the reviews now?
we'll do the
Like
reviews
an
at the end of
initial.
the.
We'll do
Yeah,
like an
Okay.
initial
Yeah.
what you're tasting.
yeah.
Sure.
And also why a lager is your anthem. I mean, I feel like that's kind of a self-explanatory anthem, just because you can definitely have as many of these as you want whenever
Yeah.
you feel like it. Don't have to worry too much about will you like it or not. It tastes kind of the same.
Yeah,
Thanks for
and
speaking for our guest, Doss.
Well,
well,
Yeah.
no, it's good
I'll
that Doss
go.
did because I think the viewers should know or the listeners should know. Like, I drink beer, but like not a ton of beer, and so when we did our pre-interview, I was like, I don't know. I jokingly was going to just suggest we drink 6 Coors Lights and call it a day.
We
But
could have done that. We definitely could.
I don't want to put that on you guys. So, like most of the time, if I go to a bar and they have like a mystery beer option, I'll just pick that and let them bring something. Like the last time I did that, they brought me a Natty Daddy. I had never even heard of that.
That's
Yeah.
rough. It's like 8%, but still natural light.
Yeah, it was nasty. It
Yeah.
was nasty natty, if anything. But
Sure.
you know, so yeah, we kind of just picked, you know, styles at random, right? I think we just boom, 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 and so, but yeah, I mean, you're definitely right. I can have a lot of these.
Yeah.
Yeah, not that I ever would, you know, if my parents are listening.
Yeah,
Yeah.
lagers are nice because they pair with pretty much anything. I mean, you could be any style of food basically. As long as it's got a little bit of grease to it, it'll taste really good with a lager. Or even just like, you know, a salty snack, got some sort of anything on the TV, just hanging out. Good vibes for sure.
Good times. Yeah.
All right. I think that's cool for lagers.
Yeah, we'll get to our ratings at the end.
Brilliant.
So we should get to the song then.
Yeah. So June, you're gonna have to say the name of this song because I'm still a little bit clueless on it.
Yeah. So the English translation is "Memories of You." I have no idea what they're really singing. Like I've looked up the lyrics like 1 or 2 times, but it's from a video game called Persona 3. It's a Japanese RPG that's known for like its music. Really, one dude wrote all the music for like the entire series. They've made like 5 games at this point. And every game had like a different style of music that they're going for. So the latest one, 5, is like jazz, jazz fusion, and it's like really sick. And then Persona 4 was like pop rock, and then Persona 3, he said in like a Reddit AMA, he talks about how he like wanted to sound futuristic, which kind of landed on being like jazz hip hop. So I guess that was his kind of like, this is what the future would sound like. But this track plays at the end of the game. It's like a very like emotional track. And yeah, the performance, the singer, I can't remember her name, but she's just like so good. And like, it amazes me that like one guy can write in so many different styles. Like, I don't know if Das or Johnny, if you listened to it like before, but like, you know, you'll hear it's just like, you know, folk rock, I guess. I don't know. You'll have to let me know what you think of it, but melodically it's just really, really well done. The like chorus, and the chorus is weird too because the lyrics change like every chorus. But he does this like cool syncopated like hemiola thing. The performance is just so good too. And so the composer, when he did this Reddit AMA, someone asked him like what his magnum opus was, and he like said this song was like the best thing he's ever written. So yeah, if you listen to the song and you're like, that's dope, like go, even if you don't care about the video games, like go listen to the music from it. It's really, really well done.
Yeah, so without further ado, we're going to take a quick break and listen to it. For all of you at home, if you're watching on YouTube, it'll be linked probably on the screen. If not on the screen, definitely in the description.
Upper right.
One of those directions. You'll see it.
Oh, yeah.
And then Spotify, other listeners, we can't embed, so check out our master playlist. It's BYO Beats, the complete collection. It's a Spotify playlist of every song we featured on the show. You can either just search for it. It's a public playlist. It should show up. If you can't get it that way, go to our link tree that's in our Instagram bio at BYOBeats_podcast. Click the link tree. It's right there. So you can click that, come to the playlist, scroll all the way down, and you'll see eventually a title that is in Japanese. That's the one we're listening to. And then that'll be the 6 for these episodes. So that's where to find it. We're going to listen and be right back. Okay, so we just listened to that song. I don't remember the English translation, but it's by Yumi Kawamura from Persona 3 soundtrack. What was the English translation again?
Memories of You.
Memories of You.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, before we listened to it and took our little break, you kind of prefaced it, which is good. That's nice to have a little bit of context. I think what was especially helpful was how you said this plays at the end of the game, right? So this is like when the
Yeah.
credits are rolling or before that?
Yeah, during the credits.
During
So
the
it's
credits.
like, yeah, game's over. And these games, I have so they remade this game recently, and that's something that would be interesting to talk about too. But the last one that I played, which is Persona 5, took me 140 hours, I think, to finish. And I'm not like a completionist, or like I'm not trying to like 100% the game. That's just how long it took.
Gee.
So you're with these characters for a really, really long time. I remember like it's like reading a really great book, right? Or like,
Yeah.
for me, it's like when you finish watching Lord of the Rings, you get to the end of it and you're like sad for everybody. Like it's all over. And so, yeah, that plays at the end credits, and, it's like a very sentimental goodbye, I guess. Um, and it's really not music that I like listen to very often, like kind of the like softer, guitar jangly type music. Like really, I listen to a lot of like electronic and dance music. Um, so yeah, when I heard this one, it was just like whoa, like way out of left field. And yeah, just the like musical elements of it are just so fascinating to me, and like it's such a well written pop song that it's hard not to enjoy. And also, I think the only Japanese song in any of the games, which is ironic because it's like a Japanese game, you
Right.
know? Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. And so what they just remade this game and they redid all the tracks. And so it's fun like comparing like the old version of it and the new version. And some of the newer tracks are like really great. Like they redid some of the like overworld music, so to speak. And the newer version I definitely enjoyed more, but this song in particular, like they did not do a good job remaking it.
Oh.
Yeah, so if any Persona 3 fans are out there, come at me. We can we'll spar in the comments. But yeah, so not everything new is better, I suppose. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad I went with the. I'm pretty sure I went with the original when I was making playlist,
Hmm.
so
Yeah.
that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, you kind of answered as well why this is your anthem. Just all those elements that we talked about. I also saw I did a little bit of research on the game myself, as in I read the Wikipedia page, and it made a note about how the game has elements of kind of like a simulator in that it's sort of like a choose your own adventure, right? So like you
Hmm.
can make decisions that will impact your relationships in the game.
Exactly. Yeah, and you're essentially living like I don't know about Persona 3, but in 5 you play like 3 semesters worth of school. Um,
Oh my
and
God.
yeah, I know. And so, it's not like based on a 24-hour system. You certain actions will like move time, kind of like in I don't know, Civilization or something. But yeah, it take, and in Japan they go to school until, Monday through Saturday, I think. So it's a lot of
Nothing.
time. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, you like build your relationships by like literally hanging out with like your party members and stuff, and that like rewards you with certain actions in combat and stuff. And it was interesting because I played 5 like through the pandemic, right? And it was this very interesting time to play because you have to choose who you spend your time with and why, and like build your relationships. And it was like a very beautiful like allegory for that time. Like you have to choose very consciously like who you're going to be hanging out with, um so you don't die. So yeah,
That's a good
video games
reason.
are awesome. Yeah.
So, do you think that if you hadn't played this game and also heard this song, that you would have the same uh, feeling toward it, or did playing the game have a large impact in that?
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't played much of 3, really, like 5 is the one that I put the most time in. I tried to play through 4 and it's just a little like old looking, and like the quality of life isn't great. Like it's very annoying to play. But I listen to music for my Spotify Wrapped. I think one of the songs from Persona 4 was like the top played song or something. Like I think the intro music or something. Yeah, it was funny. It was like all like artists from the games and then Bach for my
Okay.
fifth.
Right.
And so yeah, I think just playing the game was definitely like a gateway into it, but I don't think I keep listening to it because of how much I love the game. I think it's like vice versa. Like I played them because like the music, was so good, you know.
Gotcha. That's super cool. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like it usually goes the opposite way. Like our first show, we had like when you were describing the song, I was like, wow, this sounds a lot like when we had the Portal 2 song on here.
Oh,
and
it's so good. That
yeah.
one's a good one too.
Yeah, it was the 8-bit big band version of it.
Oh,
too.
yeah.
So I was like,
Yeah.
oh my god, this is amazing.
And so 8-Bit Big Band, I think, was just nominated for a Grammy because of a Persona 5 cover that they did.
very
Oh,
cool.
that's awesome.
Yeah. So go check it out. It's with the singer from Dirty Loops, I think.
Oh, perfect. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's so good. That group's insane. It's so great.
Yeah. I almost asked which one you were talking about, but I was like, it doesn't really matter. They're both really great.
Yeah, exactly. Both are just phenomenal. So, yeah.
So do you find yourself listening to video game soundtracks frequently, or is this more strictly a Persona franchise thing?
I think that's like a recent thing. With like work and stuff, like I'm driving a lot. And so I was teaching at a college that was about an hour away. And so it became hard to like actively listen to things for an hour straight, couple that with like my speakers blowing out in my car. So like, yeah, exactly. Like one of them's just like real crackly right now. And so, listening to like any classical music, like it's unbearable. And so like listening to like electronic like game music was easy. Like it didn't make the speakers upset. And so I would just put on like a 2-hour playlist of like Mario Kart soundtrack or whatever.
I don't think I could do that while driving.
No.
Oh my god.
Well, I would drive very fast.
Well, that's what I mean. I would get pulled over.
Yeah, well, rural Kansas is a little different.
Oh, okay,
you're alone for a lot of it. So,
makes sense.
True.
yeah. So, but yeah, video game music is actually like how I got into classical music. Hey, like when I was younger, I like played Castlevania. I don't know if you guys have like played that game.
I never played it, but I've heard really good things about it.
Yeah, and it's very like rock inspired. Like think like Phantom of the Opera. It's like rock meets like classical music, and that's kind of how I got into like playing the trumpet, So I guess video game music's just like always been there. I just like haven't really noticed. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have anything else, Doss.
Me neither. I mean, I'm sure we're running a little short, but honestly, it's just a cool song. If you're listening to this and you're just like, well, what the heck, guys? Just go listen to the song a few more times. It'll be good. It's a longer song too, so like,
yeah. Or go listen to like other music from like if you don't like that track in particular. Like I feel like every era of like each game is so different that like just go listen to a playlist of a variety of songs from that video game from the Persona series, and you'll find something that you like.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get to ratings then. So I gotta finish this up real quick.
Oh, I won't finish this. If I try to finish everything, I'm
Oh yeah, I only poured about half of my glass.
Yep.
Okay, cool.
So
it's not a good plan.
Yeah, this is the lager from Jessup Farm Barrel House. Yeah, overall, I mean, it's hard to be impressive with a craft lager. That's just the nature of lagers, right? We've had this discussion time and time again on this show. They're not meant to be anything particularly strong or unique. The goal of the lager is the goal of pop music. It's to be accessible and to be widely enjoyed, and to be simple. And that's what it is. It's got a really good base. I don't know if it's like, I don't know what grain it is, but it's got like a base grain flavor that you get in a domestic, but it's not like that watery texture that comes with light beers and domestics. It's got a nice full body, but it doesn't really sit with you or sit in your stomach. Like, I very easily could have finished that whole can and probably 5 more. Like, that's what a lager is good for. So with that, I'm going to be going with a 3.75, which is about as high as I can rate a lager.
That's
This
really
is out of
That's
this is
high.
out of 5 or 10.
Yeah, right. This
Five.
is okay. So this is out of 5, and we like to
Okay,
do
okay.
out of 5 with quarter increments, so like 0.25
Quarter.
increments.
Okay.
But honestly, it's your episode. Do what you want.
Yep.
All right, Doss, you want?
Sure, yeah. Yeah. So garage beer, not bad. I'm going with a 3 because like it still kind of tastes garagey, if that makes sense. Like, and if one of my favorite beers every year is on Thanksgiving or Christmas, I go out to the garage with my cousins at the family gathering, and whoever's of age is having I don't know, usually it's a Bud Light or a Miller Light or something. It's the best tasting beer of the whole party, especially the first one, because it's just like, this is just perfect. So, circumstantially, this goes up to a 5, just similarly to Johnny's baseball beers.
Oh yeah.
There you go. Yeah. Casey Beer Co. Dunkel is a classic. Casey Beer Co. often would ask like me and my friends to play like their Oktoberfest down at the Crown Plaza Center, and we would drink a lot of these. Like the owner would just walk around, like he would give us like a liter, whatever stein of these, and just constantly pour them. So it's a 5. It's a 5. It's just it's so good. I was in Berlin over the summer, and like it reminds me of, it's a Munich style, but whatever. It was all the same to me. Sorry to the German listeners, but yeah, it's a 5. Casey Beer Co. Dunkel. Yum
Awesome.
Nice.
All right. So with that, we're going to rinse out our glasses, pour our next ones, and be back at you for segment number 2. Okay, welcome back, all you song drinkers and music drinkers.
Listeners.
Listeners. Oh, wait, I
Wait,
did
no,
that
you
wrong.
said it
I said
backwards
song
again.
and music. I said song and music.
Just do it again.
I'll just do it again. Welcome back, all you song drinkers and beer listeners. We are here with Joon Park. We are in segment number 2, the childhood memory. We're going to intro the beer, as we like to do on the childhood memory, and then we'll let Joon take it away with his bio. So the selection for the beer for this segment was a wheat. I have from Omission Balanced Brewing out of Portland, Oregon, and Portsmouth, New Hampshire. Very cool. A little east-west action there. This is the Ultimate Wheat Ale, and what's interesting about this one is it's actually gluten reduced.
Oh.
This was
Okay.
in this. So like I was at the beer store, and while we were looking for a wheat, and then I don't remember because Erica was with us, and I don't remember if it was Janelle or Erica who pointed out like, oh, here's a wheat, and I look and I'm like, a wheat in the gluten-free section? What? I was just so curious. I was like, oh, I have to try it. So it's not gluten-free; it's gluten-reduced. It says on the can. But as someone who tends to have an upset tummy after drinking too many wheats, I'm excited to try this. So if this is good, that'll definitely be added to the rotation. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
What was the brewery? Omission Precision? What?
Omission Balanced Brewing. It's got
Omission
like a,
Balanced.
If you've
Okay.
got my ring lights screwing with the logo. Oh, there we go.
There you go. Oh wow.
Yeah, so it's
That sounds like an engineering firm or something.
yeah, it really does. So yeah, Doss, what do you have?
I've got the Allagash, their standard wheat. Pretty good. A little like heftier than your standard, I'd say. But yeah, no, I'm enjoying it for sure.
Where's that from?
That's East Coast, I think, right?
It again is not on the can to be seen anyway.
Yeah, I'll look it up. Allagash, they're pretty. I like them. They've got. I like the Allagash white. Is really good.
Yeah, that's well. Is that this one? No, it's just their wheat. Oh, it's a Belgian style wheat. That is what's happening.
Yep, Belgian style wheat's gonna be a lot.
Allagash sounds like it should be from Michigan. You know.
Yeah, it sounds like that kind of word. Portland,
Portland.
Okay,
Not even close.
Wow, the most East Coast state.
Yeah, most East you could get.
Yeah.
What do you got, June?
All right, we're sticking with Kansas City. We got the Boulevard Wheat. It's a classic. It's very good, very tasty.
I just had that on
nice.
with Tyler Austin.
Oh, Tyler did this?
Yeah,
That's awesome.
The
That's
unfiltered
awesome.
wheat. So how do you feel about the unfiltered? Because I know Doss wasn't a fan of the unfiltered style.
Do they make a filtered wheat? I don't actually know. I've never seen like I don't know the difference. I'm just assuming that they make both.
It's a good question. I mean,
Yeah.
I have no idea. I mean, Boulevard probably not, just because that's probably good enough for. I mean.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, it's very tasty. It was like one of the first beers I probably had in Kansas City. So the state of Kansas, you could not buy beer or what they called full strength beer at the grocery store until maybe like a couple of months into me living there. And I don't know if Michigan has this or if Wyoming has this, but like you couldn't buy beer before like noon or something. Is that
I know that's a law in Indiana.
Okay.
Because we were staying in Indiana and it was a Sunday morning and we wanted to grab some before heading back to Michigan or Illinois, wherever we were living. And we were like at this, I think it was like a Kroger, and they were like, yeah, you can't buy beer before noon. We're like,
right.
But we're leaving.
Was that a Sunday? I wonder if that's like a.
It could be.
Yeah,
it
must be a
Sabbath.
Too. Yeah,
but that's still so weird. Like
it's so antiquated. Yeah, I mean, I was in Conway, Arkansas, for the International Trombone Festival a couple of years ago, and they're a dry county. Yeah, wow. Those still exist. Yeah,
I mean, I knew they existed in some places in the U.S. Yeah. I don't know. When you hear about them, you're just like, oh, are they really though? Like,
right.
My favorite story about that is when Wisconsin played at BYU, and the local legend is that a bunch of Wisconsin students went to the game and drank Provo dry, like drank all of the beer that they had. That's the local legend. They would like the few bars that were in town, they drank all of their beer. That was that's the urban legend.
That's fantastic.
So, yeah, it's fun.
If it's true, then
I'm sure it's not true. I'm sure it's not true, but
how many of them were there? I mean, you never know.
Yeah, that's. I mean, figure a couple thousand Wisconsin students. Figure a keg for each of them. Let's be honest. I mean, they can really put them away. They can really put them away.
Yeah.
Urban legends, you know.
I don't have a beer belly, just a keg belly. My gosh.
Amazing. But yeah, this is great. I guess it's considered a full strength beer because I only started seeing it on shelves once that law passed and whatnot.
Gotcha. So what was a non full strength beer?
You know, I don't know. I wonder if they sold. It must have been like Radlers or something. I don't know. Like, what's a Radler? Like 2% or something?
Even less sometimes.
Yeah. Or it might be O'Doul's. That's an NA beer, right? Non-alcoholic.
It is. Yeah.
Well,
I mean, yeah. That's. I figured non-alcoholic would be popular then, but
yeah.
It has to do with if there's a correlation between alcohol laws and religion.
I mean, there are definitely
I think it's
for
safe
sure.
to say, yeah, it's pretty
right. And then the follow up is, why have some states been like, oh, whatever, and some are just like, no, we're still religious.
Well, like the weird thing, right, is so I was teaching up at Benedictine up until this last semester, which is a very Catholic college, and they host their own Oktoberfest. And I was talking to one of my students. I was like, "Do they let you drink on campus?" And they're like, "Yeah, like we're Catholic, like." The monks like invented beer.
Okay, yeah. Mm.
I was like, oh yeah, you're right, I guess. Yeah, stupid of me. So it's definitely like, evangelical Christians,
A lot of
so
Baptist sects are not drinking. Yeah,
yeah,
it's very funny, the
yeah,
difference in like different Christianity branches and their opinions on alcohol.
Wow.
yeah. And the weird thing too is I feel like Kansas tends to be a more liberal state, but weed is still banned here. Full strength beer for a while, and then
Right.
Missouri, of all places, like you can do whatever the heck you want, I guess.
Wow. Mm.
Yeah.
Too
So
political, unfollowed.
yeah,
Yeah.
Everything's too
Yeah.
political at this point. High
Yeah.
high March people out there dealing with
Yeah.
whatever the world is then. But
Here's to
I'm
you.
sure it'll be fine.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
Hey, y'all
nothing
can move up
actually-
to Canada with me. It'll be great.
hey, I'm down. All right, so we're gonna get into our musical journey of Joon Park. So Joon, this is basically when you tell your story of how you got to the point you are now as a musician.
Sure.
So you can start as early as you want, but most of the time for like classically trained musicians, we start just after high school.
Okay, gotcha. So I feel like I had kind of an unconventional journey, maybe. I don't know. I feel like everyone says that. But when I was in middle school, the first middle school that I went to like did not have a band program. Um,
Wow.
only a choir program. So I started like singing, wasn't very good at it, but wanted to be in music and stuff. And it was fun. We did recorder and whatever. And then me and my parents, we moved across town, and the new middle school that I was about to start at like had a band program, right?
Okay.
And going even further back, like my parents tried to get me to play piano. It sucked, and everyone hated it. So I didn't. I quit pretty quickly, and then like my dad played guitar when he was younger, and so I tried learning guitar, and I didn't really like that either. But we're about to move to this new middle school, has a band program and a pretty good band program from what I remember. And we had a trumpet like in the attic or something that they brought over when we immigrated. It was like, "Do you want to like play it?" And I was like, "I sure, why not?" And we got lessons from a family friend. He was a jazz trumpet player in town, and it like stuck really quickly. Like, and it's a nice horn. Like, I mean, it's what I played up until probably like 2 or 3 months ago when I switched to a different instrument.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so he had like a really, really nice trumpet, which is another funny story that we might be able to tell maybe later. I don't know. We'll see. But anyway, yeah, he bought it in the 90s. He brought it when we immigrated and like just had never seen the light of day. And yeah, it stuck to me, I guess, really, really quickly. And I was really into it. And so 8th grade comes and like I just start playing the trumpet, and I really enjoyed playing this thing. And then high school's coming up, right, in 9th grade, and there's a regional arts program, like a arts magnet school close by. And so I ended up auditioning for it because like my parents saw that like I really liked doing it. And I remember not knowing how to get sheet music and any of that. And like, what do you audition on? Like, I didn't even talk to my band director about it. Like, I just figured like she didn't know, which is a really dumb thing to assume. And because she was awesome, she was really great. And so I think my dad like transcribed for me because he reads a bit of music. He transcribed like the beginning of Chuck Mangione's "Feel So Good." like that little
Nice.
flugelhorn solo. And that's what I played at my entrance audition for my high school. And I remember, like, now looking back on it, the two teachers who were there who would end up becoming my music teachers were like, you know, trying to stifle their laughter because it's kind of a meme, right? Like that song is kind of really cheesy. um, and so yeah, I got into this performing arts high school, and yeah, it was like off to the races starting then. Like I met so many people who were like so into music, and even like most of us aren't like doing music as a career, but like they still are like the hippest musicians that I know. If any of them are listening, you're welcome. So, you know, a lot of my music taste, and like the thing that we'll listen to for this segment too, like I remember sitting in the practice rooms with them in like 9th grade or whatever, and like we're like, damn, this is like, what is this? Like, this is crazy. Like, we've never heard anything like this before. And so yeah, high school was amazing. Like I just had such a great time being there. And then it was pretty early on that I knew I wanted to like be like a trumpet player in some capacity. So, you know, Canada is a lot different than the US in terms of like the amount of schools there are for post-secondary. And then on top of that, like viable schools for like a career in music, you know?
Gotcha.
And so really the three that were available were like the University of Toronto, which is like 30 minutes from my parents' house, the Glenn Gould School, which is 30 minutes from my parents' house, or McGill, which is 5 hours from my parents' house. So I like really wanted to go to McGill. And there was a teacher there that I really wanted to study with. And in my junior year, I found out that like he was leaving. And I was like, well, there goes that plan. But I still, you know, I auditioned and ended up there. And McGill was an interesting time. Like, you know, I'm sure both of you, you know, would agree, like being an undergraduate student is like a crazy time. You're still like growing up, and like you're going through your feels, and like so many things are happening. And like on top of that, you got to like practice and like get
Right.
better at what you're doing, or like study or whatever.
Yeah.
On top of that, if you think Michigan is cold in the winters, like Montreal was awful, like really, really awful, like depressively awful. Like it snowed like 8 months out of the year, I feel like. Like
Yeah,
most of the time
probably.
by Halloween, it was in below zero, and it didn't warm up until maybe April or May.
I
And
feel
so
like
that made it really
I'll like that. I think I would like that. And then I feel it even when I'm here, just getting out to my car in the morning to go to work, and
yeah.
I'm just like, how about not this anymore?
Yeah, exactly. It's the wind. The wind was just so awful. And the no sun, like not having any sun for
That, yeah,
9 months, right?
yeah.
But I learned a lot. I mean, I was around like so many amazing, amazing musicians, and like the Montreal Symphony was like right down the street. So I got to hear them often, and I met some of my biggest mentors while I was there, of whom like I still like, they mean a lot to me. So yeah, and so when I was a senior at McGill, it came time to like, okay, like go to grad school. And one of my teachers was like, you need to leave Canada. You need to like get out of
Oh,
the you know, like the freelancing scene up in Canada is like rough. There are only like 3-4 viable orchestras, period, right? And there are a lot of really amazing musicians. And so he wasn't telling me I sucked, but like go to the land of opportunity, right?
right.
And
Find a
he
bigger
was from,
pool.
exactly, and he was from Michigan, and so he was like audition at all. So I ended up auditioning at Michigan, Michigan State, and Western. The teacher at Michigan State and I got along really well, so I ended up there, and it was one of those like decisions that kind of like changes the trajectory of your life, right? Like I didn't know it at the time, but like if I had ended up at any of those other schools, not to say that they're not as good, but like I don't know what I'd be doing now, right? You know, Justin, who was my teacher at Michigan State, he was such a like big advocate for me and my playing and like me as a person, and helped me connect and stuff that I don't know if I'd be working or like where I am now. And so, you know, my time in Michigan was awesome. It's funny, I talked to one of my old high school friends who also ended up at McGill and had a miserable time, and then left to go to she ended up at Tufts in Boston. And she was like, it was like getting out of an abusive relationship, you know. You know, and then like you end up at this new school and everyone's like so loving, and like it finally feels like the ice is melting, and like you're like in the place that you should be. And that's what Michigan State felt like. Like everyone was just so welcoming, and McGill doesn't have any sports. You know, my first weekend there was like a game day probably, and I was like, what is going on?
Yeah.
You know,
You're like, wow, there's a culture around this whole thing that I'm doing.
yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm trying to practice, and they're like, you know, tuning as loud as possible on on Adams Field.
Oh,
And
yeah.
everyone's looking at you like, why are you in a practice room? It's game day. What are
Yeah,
you doing?
yeah, exactly. Like, why are you sober? You should be drinking, you know. And so, yeah, Michigan State, like, you know, that's, you know, many of whom have been guests on this podcast. Like, I met so many amazing people, and Dallas too. I mean, I didn't meet him at Michigan State, but we met at Bayview a couple summers before that. And yeah, Michigan just holds such a like great spot in my heart. And so I think it was my first year at Michigan State. We toured to Kansas City for like a band conference or something.
Yeah.
And you know, I was like, "What the hell is a Kansas City?" Like, I have no idea. Where are we even going? Like, we're going to be on a bus for 15 hours. What are you talking about? You're crazy. But then we ended up here. It was like a city, right? It's like huge, and the hall that we were playing in was like beautiful. I was like, I want to like be here. Like, this seems like a really cool spot. And I remember talking to a couple of my friends who were a lot more knowledgeable than I, and they're like, there's like a really great school here. And I was like, what? Like, I had no idea. And so I met with the teacher, Keith, and Keith's just such a wonderful person. And like immediately I knew like I wanted to be here. Like, he was just such a warm personality and such a great mentor as well. And then there was like a quintet fellowship open. So I ended up getting that, and that quintet was awesome too. Made some of my closest friends through that. We competed a lot, and really like the teaching route was what I wanted to do. On that same like tour that we did with Michigan State, you know, Justin saw me like working with some students, and he's like, "You're like really good at this. You should like do this." I was like, "Oh, okay, cool. I didn't know that." Like, teaching wasn't like something I wanted to do. Like, orchestra was like all I wanted to do, right? And so like the DMA was like a perfect time to like pivot and just like focus on getting good at teaching.
Yeah.
And then, you know, 2020 happened, and the pandemic like kind of, you know, screeched everything to a halt. It was rough, but you know, I got to practice a lot, and it was great. And you know, I got really good at I got a lot better at things that I needed to get better at on the trumpet. And I finished my doctorate like 3 years late. So actually, like, yeah, December 2023, almost 1 year ago today. I finished my doctorate. Thank you. Yeah, it took forever. I mean, the joke that I say is that if you take long enough, they'll just let you do whatever you need to finish. You know, like they're a lot more lax about letting you get it done. Yeah, like I really wanted to teach, but it was just, you know, as any of the listeners, as any of us know, like it's really hard to get a job teaching your instrument like out of college. No matter how good your resume is, no matter anything, like it's really hard. And it seemed like my resume was just getting like thrown in the trash bin. Like anytime I would send it in, like, I would just not hear anything. And so I was just like in this weird like limbo where like I was playing a lot and teaching a lot, but not teaching the level that I wanted to. You know, I love my high school students and I love my middle school students and my non-majors at the college, but you know, like we get into this to want to teach like music ed and, you know, music performance students. But I was playing more and more with the Kansas City Symphony. It was, you know, an amazing time, and like it was so much fun to play. And again, still like thinking like all I'm going to do is teach. And then this past summer they asked, okay, like, do you want to come on this European tour with us? I was like, yeah, like that sounds pretty awesome. And so, you know, we got to go to Berlin and Hamburg and Amsterdam, and it was just like, you know, life-changing experience. And before we left on the tour, we found out one of the trumpet players in the section was leaving, and then they asked like, oh, do you want to like play with us for the year? I was like, okay, like it seems like more and more the universe is telling me like I should play and like I still teach, but like it seems like it's pushing me to play, and so um I'm in the again still kind of a weird spot of like I only have this 1 year contract. I feel like I really want to do this, but I still want to teach. So like trying to figure out how to make that work. So um yeah, yeah,
That's awesome. That's a really cool journey. But we got some music to talk about. So
Yeah.
yeah.
let's get to that. We're gonna take a quick break and listen to it. This song, the selection is called Whitecap by Snarky Puppy. So we're gonna listen to that and be right back.
Welcome back. We just heard Whitecap by Snarky Puppy, one of my favorite bands out there for jazz stuff right now. They've been around way longer than I thought. You were just telling me about how this album is remastered. I didn't think they'd been around that long that they need a remaster. But you told me, go ahead and tell the listeners why they actually had.
Yeah, so I think the original version of that album came out in 2009 or 2010. So I would have been a sophomore in high school, or maybe a freshman. I can't remember. Maybe it came out earlier. I don't know. I don't know. Time is meaningless. Anyway, so um, a bunch of my friends in like the same class as me, they had older brothers or sisters in the program as well, and they were also listening to hip music. And so I remember my friend was like, "Hey, we check this thing out. Like my brother just showed this to me earlier, and we like started this track." It's like, whoa, this is like crazy. Like we were talking while we were listening to it, me and Doss, like the fact that like you could do a live session and just record the whole thing and put it on video, like it was just such a different way to market music that like nobody had ever really thought of up until that point, and it's just so funky. It's not like the same jazz fusion that our parents grew up listening to, like Weather Report. It's grooves really hard, and the songwriting is just very smart and elegant, but also like not too cerebral that it's like hard to listen to.
Mm.
And then the performances are just like all around are just like Sean Martin just sounds so good on the keys.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they were around at a time where like you could just message bands on Facebook.
Oh yeah.
And so we would like message them. We'd be like, "Hey, like we like your music's so good," and like blah blah. And so we like would go back and forth every so often. And then finally, like we were seniors, and I think I forget what their album after this is called. It has a black cover, and that's really when they took off. But they were playing at a jazz festival or the Toronto Jazz Festival, and our jazz band was also playing, and we were playing at the same venue that they were staying at. It was a jazz club / hotel, and so we were like, "We would love to meet you." And I don't think they realized we were high schoolers because they like saw us and they were like, "Whoa, we thought you were like, you guys sound so good. We thought you guys were like college kids." They're like, "No, we're like children."
Yeah. Right.
But we saw them like later that day or later that week as well, like playing at the festival. They play like coliseums now, like huge sports stadiums now, but this was like a jazz club that fit maybe 100 people, and we would just like watch them. And like before they got big, I sound so old, but like really truly with Snarky Puppy, it was like we caught them at their like kind of ride up.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so they just taught me, like their recordings just taught me so much about music that like hard to get in person from like a regular teacher. And it's no fault of like anybody. It's just like, how do you tell someone how to groove like that? You
Right.
know?
I think a lot of people think you really can't. And
Right.
I do disagree with that notion, but it is hard if someone is not predisposed to do so.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
I think that's a musician thing in general, is there's a lot of musicians out there that had to work way harder than others because they didn't have that talent. Is usually the word that's used. I don't like that word that much because
Sure.
it's so arbitrary. But
Yeah. No, I agree.
yeah, you kind of have to like push yourself even further and further. And yeah, that's why listening to music at a younger age is so important. Even if you're like trying to go into music, you're just like, this is out there that they can make that sound with this instrument. That doesn't make any sense. How do they do that? Like,
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
probably
and teaching groove like that is really hard. You can't just tell someone like, oh, you need to lay back more, or oh, it needs to be in the pocket more. Like,
right.
like some, not to disparage by high school kids in Kansas, but to tell just some kid in Kansas like, hey, you're like need to dig deeper. They're like, huh?
Right. Yeah. Like the
And
pocket, my back or my front.
yeah, exactly. My pockets are sewn.
Right.
you know, yeah, like the you just have to like kind of hear it and like try to replicate it,
Yeah.
And I remember like being in college then, and like the girl I was dating at that point, like we were in a quintet together, which like never do that, but do not, yeah, anyway. So she would be like, man, you're so like honest about like time and stuff, and like I just don't like get it. And then we saw one, like my high school band director like ran a community jazz band on his off hours, and we like went to go hear them play, and she was like, it finally like makes sense. But again, it's like not that I was trying to teach any, it's just like the way that I feel things is different from them, and like the way that they feel things is different from me. Not that any one is correct, but just yeah, you don't like hear it until you hear it, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah,
Right.
that's the beauty of jazz. It's like jazz is so much in the eye of the musician and of the listener. Like it's such a personal, deeply personal experience, and so much about feel that it's really hard to teach. Yeah, this is great conversation, but we gotta keep it moving. We got 4 more songs and 4 more beers to talk
Oh man.
about. So let's get to our ratings of our wheats, and then we'll keep her moving. So I had the Omission Balanced Brewing Ultimate Wheat Ale, gluten reduced. You can definitely taste that it's lighter, but that's a good thing because I feel like a lot of wheats have a tendency to kind of sit in your gut, especially if you drink a lot of them, like in a session. Like Oberon's delicious, but you feel your third Oberon, and it's hard to drink a fourth. This one is definitely more sessionable. And I'll definitely be buying this again if I see it. I may have just been put on to gluten-reduced beers, at least wheats. So yeah, I'm quite pleased with this. I'm going to go with I'm going with the 3.5.
You're getting old, Johnny.
Yeah, I know. It's a shame, isn't it?
Just a little bit.
25 years old, and I'm getting gluten-reduced wheat beers.
Yeah. There's a what's it called? What's their name? Stone Brewing has a gluten-reduced IPA. It's called, I think it's just Delicious IPA is what it's called.
Interesting.
Yeah, you give that one a try.
They are Fear Movie Lions, right? Stone?
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah. Same with Arrogant Bastard, and they're just straight up Stone IPA, I think. This Allagash White, I'm pretty happy with it. It's very Blue Moony, which makes sense. They're both Belgian. So this is going to score pretty high for me. I'm going with a 4.
Nice. Yeah, Boulevard Wheat is such a classic now for me. We'll give it a 5. We'll give it a 5. Yeah.
All right, and with that, we're going to rinse out our glasses, pour our next ones, be back at you next week for segments 3 and 4.